Hi guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Vanessa. And if you're returning, thank you so much for being here and tuning in, everybody. I haven't been on yesterday because I usually film daily videos, but sometimes I don't. And it's just because, I'm a human being and sometimes things happen and sometimes you don't have energy or sometimes you don't feel clear about what to say. And I really wanted to make this video about that kind of today. So the name of the video is how to unfreeze, right? And if you ever heard about the nervous system that runs all through our body, basically runs our world, our life, and is very underestimated. But I really wanted to talk about this today because although probably you are watching and you're an adult, we often behave from a place of a child when we get stressed, when we get overwhelmed, when we get triggered. And that is a very subconscious mechanism. And most of us are not aware of it. That's why I want to talk about it with you. So stay tuned. I'm going to try and make it as easy and precise as possible. So when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel scared, whatever, let's just call anything that is getting you out of a balanced, quiet, calm, regulated state, let's call that overwhelmed, just for the sake of making it easier to communicate. So when you get overwhelmed, your nervous system responds. When you are in homeostasis, which is sort of the place where you are in balance, so when you feel regulated, when you feel like yourself, when you feel clear, when you can take decisions that feel aligned with who you are, when you feel alive and to some level free, at least to some level free, to be yourself, to express yourself, to say yes and no. When we get overwhelmed, that means when we feel like we put too much on our plate, we have too much to do, when we feel triggered and an emotional reaction comes up from us, when we don't know what to do or how to respond, in those situations where we get overwhelmed, we can have one of four or two of four responses, and they are called the nervous system responses. So you may fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So what is fight? Fight is you may get like super angry and you express it yourself. You express yourself either through words, hopefully only through words, or even through kicking a chair, or even getting, the worst of it could be like actual physical fight. So I hope you don't do that. It's really important to start learning to regulate your emotions if you're somebody who's actually getting physical or fighting somebody. Also, when you're screaming at people, that's not really cool as well. So if this is you and you start feeling like a little bit triggered right now, it's okay. This is something that you learned growing up. So just know that, hey, there is another way. And although I can have anger come up, I don't need to act on it, or there are healthy ways to act on it, okay? And to regulate it. So the second one, like, let's just stay with the normal fight of like getting judgmental, expressing yourself, being mean, getting loud. That is one way of kind of responding in your nervous system. Sorry about that. It's been a long day for me. The second way is that can happen is that you flight. So, for example, you run out of the room, or you actually leave the place or the city or whatever, or you kind of like hide and escape, like physically, or you just don't answer a message, like you ghost people or something like that. That can be flight. Fawn is basically when you people please. So when something happens that dysregulates you and you don't listen to your own emotions or your own feelings or boundaries about this, but you're like just focusing on the other person involved, and you try to make them as comfortable as possible, although you may not be comfortable with, making them comfortable. So for example, you negotiate a deal, or you negotiate a salary or something, and they're like, oh, this is going to be the sum, we cannot go down on that. And you're like, oh, okay, no problem, it's okay. So basically you don't feel worthy of debating it, or you feel afraid what would happen if you debate it, and therefore you are basically giving in to the other person's wants and needs. And the last one is called freeze. So when we freeze, we basically feel unable to either physically move, or we feel unable to look into our emails, open your bank account, answer a call that you're getting, answer messages. You may just like shut down. A freeze is like a shutdown where you are, let's say you could be doing Netflix and chill all day, all week, all month long. Yeah. Or you could be just like laying in bed and being unable to even, I don't know, brush your teeth, shower, whatever. Or you can feel like, oh my God, I cannot answer, I cannot do anything because I don't know how to respond to that. You feel so overwhelmed. Often the freeze response is basically, people feel like this is like a depressive response, but actually it's when you get so anxious that you freeze. Yeah, you get so overwhelmed, so anxious that you freeze, and that puts you in sort of a depressive mode where you are actually unable to take any action. Because why? Because you feel unsafe. Yeah. And how I really want to talk about that state today, because I think a lot of people deal with that and they don't know that it's happening when it's happening to you. So all that I just spoke about, take that as signs that you sometimes fall into a freeze response. And then it's very important for you to know that you are an adult now. When that happened as a child, there was a reason for that. Because maybe, like for me, it happened a lot in childhood, just because I had a parent that was very unpredictable in their actions, and like quite angry all the time and loud and unpredictable of their moods. So I often felt like if I just, when they would come home, if I'm just in my room and I don't make sounds and I don't, am putting attention on myself, then I'm safe. So I often would freeze. Like, that sounds maybe a little bit extreme. It was more like emotional and mentally disturbing, not so much physically, thank God. But I just want to give you an honest example from myself. So I would sit in my room and just sometimes listen. Oh my God, are they coming up the stairs? Do I need to behave now or whatever, And I would just learn like that I, when I feel uncomfortable, when I feel overwhelmed, when I feel scared, I would freeze. Yeah. And so that made me get into that mode. If that happens for you over a series like of years or months or even weeks, then your nervous system gets so accustomed to freezing when you feel overwhelmed or scared, or kind of like unable to know what's happening next, then your nervous system will always come back to that response. Even though you're an adult now, you live in your own house, you are not dependent on caretakers or parents anymore, but if your nervous system has learned to respond like that, then you need to take active action to actually acknowledge that it's happening and then get yourself out of that. Yeah. It doesn't mean, just because I gave you that example, it doesn't mean you need to have been like afraid or whatever. It can also be from overwhelm, when you feel like you needed to manage the relationship of your parents, or manage your siblings, or the mood in the house, or you felt like you had to take responsibility early on. Then sometimes we can also freeze, because we're like, I'm responsible, I'm supposed to do this and that, and I cannot put myself and my needs first. And then it sometimes feels like, oh my God. So the only way that we can get out of that responsibility is sometimes to completely shut down, which is the freeze response, and not send anybody a message or something, because we just feel like, I need this time now for myself. But it's kind of, when you think about it, a very immature way of dealing with it, because you feel in that situation like, like you actually respond too late to your body's needs. You don't listen to your body's needs. You don't for a certain amount of time. And then you have the shutdown, where you actually are like probably not even doing something very nourishing for yourself. You probably just, and no judgment, you probably just Netflix and chill, or you scroll on your phone, or you smoke, or you eat, or whatever. Excuse me. And you are just like numbed in yourself, because you may feel even guilty to take that time off and like not respond to people. If this is you, it's completely okay, because you didn't know any better. But now, as I said, as an adult, there are ways where you can just recognize, oh, I'm now in a freeze state. Just journal out, what happens when I get overwhelmed? Oh, I get in a freeze state. So what does it mean? Oh, I'm just like shutting down. I'm not answering my messages. I'm not answering my emails. I'm doing this and that activity all day long, or whatever. And then how do I start feeling? Then I start feeling guilty, or whatever. It's, yourself best, so you need to actually figure out how you feel. But do this exercise, because it's really, really powerful to, sometimes we do that, we fall into that state when we are overwhelmed in a positive way. So when we get finally momentum in our life, in our career, relationships, whatever it is for you. And then sometimes we stop ourselves. Some people call it sabotage, because we feel like, oh my God, what if something goes wrong? And then we cannot deal with the uncertainty. So we create certainty by stopping ourselves and shutting down, because we cannot deal with, okay, uncertainty of, is it going to work out? Is it not going to work out? But as an adult, you're so capable of being in the unknown. As a child, yes, it's hard. And if you didn't have anybody to reassure you or to teach you that it's okay to take risks, that it's okay to sometimes not know, that it's, that there is somebody by your side who will catch you and who will be there, and that you don't have to take over responsibility for people and situations, and that you indeed can say, hey, today I don't have the capacity, can you please do it yourself? Or today I cannot add like this meeting, or I cannot go grocery shopping for you, or even ask for help. Like as an adult, we need to learn, and that sounds like you're giving your independence away, but it's not true. We learn to be hyper independent, and that's unnormal. It's abnormal. It's not normal, especially for women, okay? So it's really okay to ask for help, to say no when you feel like your schedule is already super full. And one thing I want to add to that is you can also say no when your schedule is not full, because maybe you're a human being that needs some off time, and you haven't allowed that to yourself because you thought, oh, but I'm not doing anything in that time, then I can take a client, do something for somebody. No, but you don't have to. Who said that it's not okay to have off time, and that being you being busy, no matter what you do then? Who told you that that's not okay? Yeah, it's really okay. And I really had to learn that as well. And that was not easy for me. I had lots of guilt and shame come up every time I would just take an afternoon for myself and somebody would ask me either, can we have a coffee, or a client wanted to schedule a meeting or whatever. But over time, especially working for myself, I realized that I need that off time, because this is when my creativity comes online. This is when I have the best ideas. This is when I have fun and, restore my joy and excitement and energy. So just because it's like downtime where you're not actively doing something that makes you feel productive doesn't mean it's not productive. Okay, so keep this in mind. It's really important. Now I lost my train of thought. Where were we? Tell me, where were we? Yeah, so basically, it's really important that you allow yourself to say no when it's a no. And that may feel very uncomfortable for you in the beginning. But if you just feel like I'm not capable, I'm tired, or, it's so important that you learn the language of your body and your nervous system to understand, oh, I have energy, I'm in homeostasis, so I'm in a balanced state. Or I'm overwhelmed, so I'm on the edge of freezing. Okay, let me take a step back here, cancel a meeting, or cancel a friend's meetup. Put yourself first. It's you cannot support anybody else if you don't support yourself. And it's not selfish. It's about your health, your mental, emotional, and physical health. And many people don't see it like that. But it's just essential. I had so much work for myself to learn that. Like, it's so easy now retrospectively, but I could not let go of the old belief that I had from my family that I need to be productive and that I can only rest when I earned it. Who said you need to earn rest? This is bullshit. We are alive, first and foremost, for love and joy. And if this is not part of your life, then, it's time for you to make space for it, because you deserve it. You don't have to do anything to deserve joy and rest and fun. You may have been taught differently, but this is a learned belief, it's a learned behavior, and you can undo that. Yeah? But you need to start putting yourself first, and not in an egotistical way, not in a harsh way, in a soft way, where you just say, hey, thank you so much for the invitation, but today I just need to really rest. I had a very busy week. Or you don't even need to say that, because also you do not need to justify yourself for your actions and decisions. Okay, so boundaries are very important with others, but also with yourself. They can be drawn softly. If somebody doesn't like it, sorry, it is what it is. You also need to get used to people not liking you, because who taught you that everybody needs to like you? It's another myth. We're so afraid of feeling pain, or we're so afraid of feeling shame and guilt. You need to get used to allowing yourself to feel that, because once you do it, it's getting easier, and you will stop feeling shame and guilt for making decisions for yourself. It's just that what you feel because you're not used to doing that. Yeah, you're not used to doing that, and that's why it feels uncomfortable. But it will change over time when you allow yourself to do that. And this is the way how you get out of freeze. This is the only way how you get out of freeze, actually. You can also, when you feel yourself getting or being into freeze mode, half a bag into the chips bag, or, watching 8 episodes of something. I'm not saying there's something wrong with that. If you are doing it consciously and decide, oh my God, today I just need this day where I'm just, allowing myself to do that. I notice I'm in freeze. It's okay. I will get out of it. So first thing is, you need to notice that you're in a freeze mode. Second thing is, what are you going to do to get yourself out of it? And I recommend to first acknowledge I'm in freeze. And please don't bully yourself for being in a freeze mode. Don't hate yourself for being in a freeze mode. Don't, judge yourself for it. Accept it, because there's a reason for it. And the reason is that you need to ask yourself, why am I in freeze mode? Oh, I overwhelmed myself with this and that and those actions. Okay? That's the first step. The second step is accepting and acknowledging and understanding, why am I in freeze mode right now? Oh, I overdid it. And then you can slowly start getting yourself out of it. Not with force, not with shaming yourself, with compassion. Compassion. Okay? With compassion. So how do you do that? So first of all, I would recommend you to just take a few deep breaths in through the nose. You can sigh it out through your mouth, and then use soft movement to make yourself feel your body. So basically, when we're in a freeze mode, all we want to do is dissociate. We don't want to be in the body. We want to dissociate. So by watching something or by whatever action you take, by numbing yourself in any way or distracting yourself, you're basically not identified, you're not active and conscious in your body. So what we want to do is slow movement, moving your wrists, moving your shoulders, moving your arms. You can even put a little song on that feels good. Yeah, just bringing slow movement back into the body. Maybe shaking out your legs a little bit, maybe standing up, allowing yourself to feel your body and just breathing. Nothing else to do. Yeah, just feeling yourself. And then you already find like, oh, this is an achievement. I got off the couch. I'm not doing that thing anymore that I just did. And then maybe you feel some emotions come, and just know that it's okay. Feeling the emotions, we're just not used to it, but there's nothing wrong with feeling your emotions. So that's also another thing. Feeling your emotions, it's just uncomfortable because it's sensation that you used to suppress. You used to ignore it, suppress it, numb it with whatever substance or activity. And now you're suddenly allowing it to come to the surface. And it's uncomfortable. But discomfort is part of life. And I'm not saying you should have the discomfort that is harmful. But discomfort, like learning to feel your emotions, is actually helpful. And it will support you in getting out of this freeze mode. Then ask yourself, what is one thing that I need right now to feel safer? What is one thing that I can do for myself right now that is making me feel safer? Is it a hot bath, a warm shower, a cold shower? Is it putting on an incense? Is it drinking a herbal tea or whatever? Is it calling a friend, going into a blanket? What do you need? Yeah? And then the last thing I would recommend is write yourself down. Whenever you get in a free state, prepare yourself. What is one thing that helps you get out of it? Like what makes you feel safer? Then write down, okay, I can start with little movement, and then I do the thing that makes me feel safer. And then also, how do I want to respond when I get into the free state? When I feel like, oh, I overdid it, I'm overwhelmed now, I don't know how to deal with either these emotions, this situation, these people. Maybe for a job, like what I wrote myself down was, okay, Vanessa, and this is also when I go in with internal family system, with parts work. I talk a lot about this in my videos, so watch a few others to understand how that better works. But I basically speak to the part of me that is afraid. And you can do this with open eyes, you can do that with closed eyes. I love doing it with closed eyes because I feel closer to myself. So I go in and I feel, where does the fear sit, or where does the overwhelm sit? in my throat and in my shoulders. Okay, can be in a different place for you. Yeah. And then I just breathe into those places for a few times, just taking that time really intentionally, actively, consciously. Being present in my body, feeling this heaviness on my shoulders. And then I ask this part, what overwhelms you right now? What do you need right now? Yeah, it's basically the steps that I shared with you. I just speak with me inside and I explain that part of me that is probably much younger. So you can even ask, how old are you? Oh, I'm 6 years old or whatever. Okay, so what do you need? And then just listen if they answer you. And this is something you need to get used to because it's very often, people that's not something that we get taught in school. So you may need a few tries to actually listen and hear, oh, what do I need? Oh, this is what I need. Okay. And then you can explain to that part that is probably very young. And even if you cannot get the age, that's completely okay. But just connect to that part and let them know, look, I know it wasn't easy back then. And I completely get that you were overwhelmed with these situations. But we're an adult now. I'm an adult now. And can you let me take the lead on this? Yeah? It's basically you're speaking to a part of yourself that's much younger, probably your inner child. So that's another journal exercise. So first of all, journal out, how do I respond in a situation like that? Like what happens when I freeze? Yeah. Why do I freeze? What do I need to make myself feel safer? And then the last journal exercise is what would my adult self do? Yeah, if I was regulated and not in freeze mode, what would my clear, mature adult self do? So for me, it would be, I wrote myself down that back then, making sure I answer my emails within 2 days. Or I sent a WhatsApp message to the people, hey, I'm not going to be available for the next day. Please be patient with me. Or I would put into my email like a holiday note of like, oh, I'm out for the next 2 days or whatever. Just be proactive, not to let everything fall down just because you need a minute to regulate your nervous system, regulate your state and your overwhelm. Yeah. So what would your adult self do? Because this is so powerful to prepare yourself and to put yourself in a place where you don't, mess up all your momentum that you created, because maybe you're in a situation that's challenging, but that's moving you forward. Okay. And so just make sure that you're not like a victim of your body and a victim of your free state, because when you start learning how to handle it and how to regulate yourself, that's so empowering and so powerful. You will feel so powerful. I felt so powerful once I, got a hang of it, because I just felt like, okay, I'm going to put the big girl pants on and I'm going to just slowly regulate my system. I'm not going to force myself, but I am capable of handling this. Yeah. That's my message for today. Leave a comment below. Tell me how you feel about this topic. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. What are you doing? Why are you not subscribing? We're talking about good stuff over here. Alrighty, see you in the next video. Thank you so much for tuning in. It means a lot to me, so thank you. Bye.